Hey, I wanted to let you know there are some dates below in the description of some live events coming up that you may not want to miss. And also, while I have your attention, check out my playlists to see some content that maybe you missed already that you'll be glad you found. That's all. Well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about Meander? Stick around and find out. I don't know, it's just like generic sci-fi horror suspense music. Sometimes I wonder if I made a big mistake committing myself to this gimmick at the start of all my movie reviews. Hi, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spiritblade Productions. This is my uncut review of Meander. The synopsis on IMDb reads, a woman gets locked... I said woman gets locked in a series of strange tubes full of deadly traps. Okay, so what is this thing? Watch the trailer, and I think it gives a good sense of what kind of experience you're in for without giving too much away. It's a sci-fi thriller that reminds me a bit of the classic sci-fi movie Cube. You know, you've got this woman who wakes up, doesn't know where she is or how she got there. She's in this claustrophobic, slightly sci-fi environment, and she's wondering, of course, who put me here? How did they make all this? Who's responsible for this? Why am I here? It's largely nonverbal in terms of the storytelling. It's all about this actor's performance. It's very suspenseful as she's surviving, crawling her way through one deadly trap or environment after another. The tension comes from the relatable fear that you can imagine you would also have if you were in the same situations that she was in. The despair that she feels as she numerous times feels like just giving up and it seems hopeless. And along with the pain that she's also enduring. So, you know, when it's a movie about one character, you know, you might wonder if they're going to die at the end, but this isn't the kind of movie I think that hangs on wondering, will she die like halfway through the movie? No, it's all on this one character. So she's going to be alive until the movie is done. Whether, you know, she's alive then or not, we don't know. And so it's not about wondering if she'll survive, but what she endures and relating to her as she endures it. There's lots of what the crap kinds of moments for me in this movie. Just like, what is going on? What is that? You know, but the most important plot elements, the nature of her captor and the reasons for being captured are either answered or I would more strongly say they're suggested. So I didn't feel like the filmmakers had no idea what the answers were to these questions. I felt like the writer and the director, who's the same person in this case, had answers for all these questions. He wasn't necessarily interested in revealing all the answers to all those questions, but the ones that I really cared about, he at least suggested answers to, or provided clues that made me able to reasonably speculate as to what the answers were. And so, I like that. I like having, constantly asking myself, what is that about? What is that about? But feeling like I have just enough information to think that maybe I know what's going on here, More importantly, though, there's a satisfying dramatic resolution to the story and the main kind of arc of the character and what she needs to go through. Now and then some dialogue did feel a little wrong to me, but this might have been due to the translation. What little dialogue there is through much of the movie is French. At first, when the credits started rolling and I saw all these French words and French names, I was like, oh no, did I miss something in the trailer? Because I can usually tell when trailers are going to be for dubbed movies or for a foreign language movie, and I was like, oh man, did I miss that somehow? But no, it's kind of like a multilingual production. The native language of the main character is French, and so when she's by herself, she's speaking French, but when she's with an English character, there's an introductory scene where she's with an English-speaking character, they're speaking English through that scene, and then there's a couple other instances in the movie where English is appropriate for her to use, but it's just just used when the story context requires. So it didn't feel like a foreign film per se, but rather a multilingual film, which I'm developing a taste for. I think that using multiple languages as the story itself calls for gives a sense of realism to the story for me. Okay, as far as the cast, well, Gaia Weiss, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, is the main performer. She plays the main character Lisa, who's trying to survive this whole movie. And I really felt like she carried the film well for me. I was on the edge of my seat much of this movie in large part because of her emotional responses to different situations. Peter Franzen, yes, oddly similar to my name, might be recognized as King Harold from the TV series Vikings. Here he plays a small but significant supporting role as the criminal that Lisa meets at the start of the movie. It was neat to see him in a different role, and I appreciated the different flavors that he brought to his character. As far as stunts and visuals, it's really largely practical. I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't remember. There probably was some subtle CG in this movie, but I don't remember any of it. It's lots of monster makeup. Well, not lots of monster makeup. Some monster makeup significantly in this movie. Mutilated bodies, blood and gore. And at times, particularly when it comes to some of the blood and gore effects, it looked a bit unrealistic. But maybe in part because of that, it made me cringe intensely for being slightly but not outrageously over the top. Now, I'm guessing that they reused a lot of sets, but it works perfectly given the premise of this maze-like environment that she's in, and they do vary it up, I think, just when they need to, so that it doesn't ever become boring for me to look at. I always felt like, even as they were surely reusing corridors, I always felt like she was moving, progressing. She was in a different place from where she was before, so I felt like they used the practical set resources that they had really well. I suspect this movie will please fans of practical makeup and gore effects, as far as it leans on those things, and might even age better than even some of the biggest budget CG fests of today. Okay, so themes. Is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of this thing that might trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? Lisa is dealing with the death of her daughter in this movie, and in one flashback sequence, it's suggested that she holds some form of Christian faith. When talking about her grief early in the movie, she says, "I don't want to die, I just want to be with my daughter." And so I think that thematically there's going to be some things here that certainly resonate with some people. And when she says that, I don't want to die, I just want to be with my daughter, a character that we're meant to think of unsympathetically replies by saying that there is nothing after this, we're all just alone. And so that naturalistic or atheistic worldview is assigned to a character that we are not meant to like, that we are meant to be opposed to. So the script seems to want us to root for the main character to be reunited with her daughter after this life, and subtly portrays her as having specifically Christian beliefs. And so I thought that combination of elements was really rare and noteworthy. On top of that, for reasons that I won't specify, when the movie is done, I think you could easily start a conversation in the aftermath about resurrection, about the new heaven and new earth, and maybe even the concept of soul sleep. That maybe is a stretch, but I think it came to mind for me. Anyway, I have no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, don't miss this. Don't miss this. You kind of stumbled upon this movie, and you're going to be glad that you watched it. It's a rare kind of movie that, intentionally or not, caters to your love of gross and weird sci-fi horror, your love of character and performance-driven movies and suspense, and even caters, intentionally or not, to significant elements of your beliefs as a Christian. So really unusual and satisfying combination of things that you like. I enjoyed this movie enough that I will be looking for other movies by Matthew Turi, M-A-T-H-I-E-U, last name T-U-R-I, Matthew Turi, who is the writer and director of this film. There was no rating that I could find for this one, but I'd categorize it as R for violence and gore. And those are all my thoughts for now on Meander. I'd love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected to this content. I want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get more information about the benefits of becoming an insider over at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
christiangeekcentral.com